Ladies in red. Ladies in red. Ladies in red. Discuss the latest news, just fans giving their views. This channel is red. They see the bar and raise it, plus they rep for the ladies. Trust it's red. Female voices in football. Red. If you want to talk up, it's a red channel for me and you. Subscribe and tune in to the Ladies in Red.
Hi guys, welcome back to Ladies in Red. We're back with another one. I'm back with a new show actually, but a regular guest. Mais, firstly, thank you so much for joining us again. And how are you doing on this fine Thursday evening?
Thanks for having me on. Oh well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm not too bad. It's been a bit of a manic week, to be fair. A bit of a manic week, obviously, but we played yesterday and we're going to delve into that. And as you know, guys, this is a different one. It's the first ever time I've tried this, but you guys can come and join. I can see Mo's already waiting. Mo, I see you, and we'll get you straight in. But if you guys want to come and jump on and talk to us, obviously preferably video, but it doesn't have to be. It can just be audio as well. And come and just interact with us. Let us know what your thoughts are on Ralph's reign so far. And our little predictions for the Norwich game. But mate, yesterday, obviously, young boys against young boys, it seemed. What were your thoughts on it yesterday?
You know, I was actually so shocked knowing that we had a completely different starting 11, like 11 changes. Had the youth playing, we had a Lingard starting, even though he did come on as a sub, so we got that little bit of experience from him with Crystal Palace. Ahmad played his first game of the season for us as well in the senior team. We had Mengi come on as a sub. Of course, we had two new debuts coming through as well on the 86th minute. So it was absolutely brilliant how we had all these different players coming on, and we can't forget Tom Heaton as well making his debut in the Champions League. Can't miss him out at all. But knowing that we had a complete rotation and this squad as in particular probably aren't used to playing with each other as well, because it's completely different. I think they hold it out really, really well considering. And young boys, I would have expected a little bit of better performance from them, knowing that we made that complete different change. This is literally our B team. None of them, I'd say the only one who you would say would be like a proper starting 11 player would be like Eric Bailly or Jesse Lingard as a sub or Donny as a sub. Apart from that, none of them have barely had any game time whatsoever. So knowing that we did get that draw, I actually think it's very impressive. And for me, the youngster I was most impressed with, I'd probably say Menga, because even though he slipped, he got that determination, got back up, and he still won the ball. And I just thought, wow, what kind of a player he is. And I actually am looking forward to these kind of players to come through to us in the future, because when you look at that, you do think there is so many players who is capable of being in Manchester United's first team in years to come.
Yeah, definitely. Mengi was one that I'd say stood out for me as well. He's got all the right attributes. He's strong, he's powerful, he's quick as well as he's shown on that situation, as you just mentioned there, his recovery. Joseph said, hi, Sophie and Mais. Hope you're both keeping well. A stress-free weekend, obviously with the Spurs game being off. And of course, hope all the players and the staff recover fully from COVID as well. Horrible hearing that. It just seems to be coming back around again, Mais. Like, it seems to be coming back again, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just all over the place now. You just can't get away from it, can you? When you think it's dying down, it's literally coming all back up again, because like you say, the Spurs, I think there was an outbreak with some other clubs as well, and then you're hearing a rise in cases. It's absolutely everywhere now.
Yeah, it is everywhere. And obviously, you see in the news, I'm gonna ask you about it, and obviously I'm interested to see what everyone in the chat says about it. It's politics, and I don't really talk about politics, but the whole Christmas party thing that's going on at the minute, Mais, that just sums up our government, doesn't it? It sums up this country. Like, I can't even comprehend it, to be honest with you.
Honestly, when you'd think if they're the ones making the rules, that they would obey our own rules. And I was reading so many comments on social media about how they were struggling at Christmas to see the families, and then later on something happened, and then you just feel absolutely sorry for them. But then you get these, like, you get people who are in, like, I've seen the footages of like over 20 people in one room having a party. You think it's absolutely diabolical. Like, you've got literally your family members who are so like old, and you want to hug them, and you haven't been able to hug them for a year. You could only use the telephone or Zoom or something. It's a shame, to be honest.
It is a shame, and obviously I watched, because I've been at home isolated at the minute, I watched the Prime Minister's questions, and like I said, I don't normally talk about politics or anything like that, but this obviously just, it gripped everyone, I think, and it's infuriated everybody, because there's people, obviously, like you say, who have lost loved ones over Christmas and couldn't even say the last words to them, or they're saying the last words via a Zoom call and whatnot, and then you see that there's parties going on. What I would say is some of the gifs and the memes that have come out of it though have been quite funny. Like it's good. Like the internet is just crazy and news just travels, doesn't it, so fast. The amount of videos I've seen on Twitter and whatnot. But yeah, it's just disgusting. But you know what? It's not even a shock, is it, anymore? I don't think anything is a shock with this government, really.
No, not a shock whatsoever. And you should feel like that you're surprised about it, but a part of me just isn't surprised, especially when you hear all the other stuff what's happened from last year to this year. You think it's nothing really new now, is it?
Yeah. No, it's nothing new. Boris brushes his hair with a balloon and says, "Gaz, it does look that way to be fair. It does look that way, the static coming off it. It does look like that." But we're going to get back to football anyway. I'm not here to talk about politics or anything like that. I'm not the Andrew Marr show or nothing, but I just wanted to touch on it and see what your thoughts were, and obviously everyone in the chat as well. So tonight's show, obviously, Mo is already waiting, like I say, but hit that link in the description. Come and join us. Come and have a chat to me and Mais about all. You know, it doesn't even have to be United. It can just be football. So I know we've got Zoe in the chat who's a Chelsea fan. Nippon's there as well. Come and delve and let us know what your thoughts are on Chelsea's obviously game yesterday as well, dropping it right at the end against Zenit. What a goal that was, by the way. But yeah, Lukaku scored though. So that's something new. But yeah, let us know your thoughts on that one as well. And we're going to get May on in just a few seconds, and Mo will obviously share his thoughts on it as well. But yeah, young boys yesterday, I thought, you know what, it's quite nice. I think the tradition of the club, obviously playing the youth players and whatnot as well. I think the fact that we managed to give a debut to Savage and we all could witness that as well with his father commentating, I just think that was a special moment, truly. I mean, how must he have been felt in there, Robbie? Like, I was trying to think, like, if that was the other way around, say if I had a child and they were making a debut for the club that I love as well, like, it would just be, I don't think I'll be able to talk. I don't think I'll be able to talk. He did well.
He did. He actually kept so professional, because if that was my child who was coming on for Manchester United, such a big club, you'd be looking at it and go, oh my God, my son is literally on the touchline, oh my God. And then you say something like, you'd be gasping for breath and you'd be like, wow. You'd be like getting so excited, but he kept so professional, didn't he? But I think it was so lovely how he was able to welcome his son onto the pitch, saying, it's like, Charlie Savage is being replaced by World Cup winner Mata. I think it was absolutely amazing how it was him who was able to welcome his son onto the pitch, and that's a memorable moment even for his son, his family, because they'll be able to record that and go, Robbie Savage welcomed his son onto the pitch on the 86th minute.
And we all watched it. Like, it's historical, isn't it? And hopefully Savage goes on to be, Charlie that is, goes on to be an incredible player. And I've met him, to be fair, and what a humble lad he seemed. And all the best to him, all the best. Michael, thank you so much. That was really generous, and I really do appreciate that contribution. Thank you so much, and I hope you are doing well and staying positive through these horrible times. But yeah, thank you so much. Really do appreciate that. Ricky says, thanks for contribution, Michael. Exactly. Any chance you can buy me a pint? Tell you what, we'll buy everyone a pint of that. Thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate that. Curtis, it doesn't have to be a cam. It can, like I've already said, it can just be your audio as well. Mo will be with you very shortly, but we're going to go into it. Obviously, we dropped a lot of players. We rotated a lot of players. Do you think that was the right thing for Ralf to do? Because you mentioned it earlier, young boys, to be fair, they should have come at us a lot more. They could have quite easily gone for the win. We were there for the taking. They needed to get the win as well. Finishing wasn't quite up to scratch. But for us, obviously, we're already through. It's a bit of a dead rubber game. Like, personally, I think that was the perfect thing to do. So many times you hear managers complain about like tight fixtures and heavy schedules and whatnot. We needed to rotate. You needed to see certain players playing as well. And I'm happy for it.
Me too. I'm absolutely happy about that as well, because when you look at the net, so many fixtures, we're playing now every 3 days, every 3-4 days, 5 days. So you did need that rotation. You do need that rest for Bruno Fernandes and Ronaldo, even Cavani, who's coming back from training as well from his injury. You do need these players to be rested. You need to make sure that they keep that full level fitness, and especially knowing the Champions League, it's not needed where this is the win where we have to get into the Champions League. This is how people call a free hit game. So we was able to afford to do these rotations because we was already guaranteed knockout football. So I think Ralf done the perfect thing in terms of actually giving the youth players a chance and giving Tom Heaton his opportunity as well, because apart from maybe the FA Cup, you probably won't see much of these players in general. So it's good to see what the players are going to be like, and Ralf as well, just to see does he like these players going forward? Are these the players he wants to bring into the first team a bit more frequently? I think he's already come out and said how well Greenwood is a special talent. He's also come out about Alanga as well. And rumours were suggesting that Alanga was going to go on loan in January. So I do wonder now Ralf has come through if Alanga will stay and maybe have a little bit more first team experience, maybe as a sub. Because it'd be good maybe to see him as a sub like against Brentford or Brighton next week as well. I don't think he'll be Norwich just because it's such a short gap and he played quite a lot of minutes for the first team. So maybe we might see a little bit more of him throughout the Christmas now.
Yeah, definitely. Mo's unmuted, so we're going to get Mo into the screen first. I can see people lining up and we get straight to you as well. But yeah, I agree. I think the rotation is a good thing. I think it's healthy. I think all of us fans welcomed it as well because we've got to see certain players. Donny van der Beek is one that we're going to be talking about in just a second. But yeah, we're going to head over to Mo. Mo, firstly, thank you for joining us. Good evening. How you doing?
Thanks. How you doing, ladies?
Good evening, Mo. So yeah,
Hi.
obviously, firstly, we're discussing the Young Boys game yesterday. I've just mentioned a certain Donny van der Beek. He obviously got his start. What were your thoughts on his performance yesterday, Mo?
Oh, I reckon probably a chance missed for Donny.
You think?
Yeah, I think it's a chance missed for Donny, definitely. It wasn't up to the standard that I thought he could have played at. Yeah, I think still a bit rusty considering Ollie didn't give him that many minutes. So
Yeah,
it's definitely.
I think that's understandable. Yeah, obviously the lack of minutes that he's had in a consistent game time. Do you think though, Mo, him being in there with Juan Mata didn't really help Donny out as well? I was going to throw that in there as well.
Well, I mean, I'm afraid that, because I think Crystal Palace, Ralf replaced him with Bruno, if I'm not wrong. I think.
Yes.
And I don't know whether that was Ollie. I mean, the stuff that Ollie had, whether it was their decision or whether it was Ralph's decision. Because if it is Ralph's, then I'm, scared for Donny. Because if he sees him as a replacement for Bruno, he might as well leave in January. There's no point in him staying because Bruno's not going to come off anytime soon. So I feel for Donny. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree. Mate, what's your thoughts on that? Would you compare Donny with Bruno, like identically, or do you think Donny maybe should play more of that box to box, that 8, if you like? Because that's where I personally see him.
I think if he is going to have any shot into this Manchester United starting 11, it will be in the box. It won't be in Bruno Fernandes' position, because we do look at when he did play for Ajax and he did play more of that Bruno Fernandes role. And I think knowing when he did sign for Manchester United, he probably did know that he isn't going to be ahead of Bruno Fernandes, because Bruno Fernandes is a critical player for Manchester United. We do play him at all costs, regardless. Probably even if he had one leg, we'd probably still play Bruno Fernandes. That's how important he is for our squad. And I think Donny was aware of that when signing. And I think he probably knows he'll probably have to either play in a different position or he probably will be a bench player. But for me, I genuinely think that he was more part of a panic buy, because last season, his rumours coming out about Paul Pogba leaving to Real Madrid and it was close to getting signed. So I reckon that it was more of a panic buy because we thought Paul Pogba was going to go and he was a Paul Pogba replacement. And then once Paul Pogba stayed at Manchester United, he probably thought, oh my God, we bought Donny now and Paul Pogba's staying, I don't know what to do. And I think that's why Donny has not had that many minutes whatsoever. But I do definitely agree with Mo, because I do think that he didn't really show what he is capable of on that last game. I was expecting that a little bit more, especially when you've got the youth around him. You would have thought he would have been one of them standout players as well as Jesse Lingard, and he wasn't that for me. And there was about 3 players who I could have said was better than Donny on that game, and some people would argue it was Donny's fault why that goal was conceded against us.
Yeah, true. I think Donny, I do think Mata being in there as well didn't help him, I have to be honest, because I think Donny kind of did a lot of that work on his own in there, and that's not really his game. He's more that creative player, and having Mata in there, I think he sacrificed it a little bit. But we'll move on from Donny anyway. Obviously more game time, I think we'll all agree is needed for him, but what position he's going to get that in, I think we'll wait and see. But in terms of Ralf coming in, Mo, first impressions, obviously, I'm not going to say, we're winning the league or anything like that. But what's your first impressions of Ralf? Do you like what you see so far?
I mean, I'm pretty happy. I mean, the first game against Palace, we kind of saw what his style was in about the first 20 minutes, I guess. And then the slip-off, you could definitely see Ollie's impression in the second half. It was kind of the same football that we saw over the past 2 years. And against Young Boys, you can't really judge, I guess, because it was our second team and they were still rusty. So I wouldn't look at the Young Boys game, but Crystal Palace, I think it did give us an impression of what Ralf wants and how he wants us to play. So definitely first 20 minutes, it did give us what he wants. But I do fear that the formation that he wants to play, the 4-2-2, because we have so many number 10s, you got Lingard that wants to play in that role. You got Bruno, Mata, even Donny. I feel like it's just not, good for these players unless we're playing sort of the winger system, which I don't think Ralf wants to play. It's probably our fullbacks that will benefit the most, but because we've got about, I think, 4 or 5 number 10s, it's a bit hard to fit all of them in the system. So that's probably a fear for me at this moment in time for the players that we have.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. But you mentioned the fullbacks there, obviously Wan-Bissaka, worst player on the pitch. If you asked me yesterday, I thought he was absolutely atrocious again. Obviously, I hope he recovers from his injury and whatnot. I've seen people wishing him like an injury and what. I don't agree with that at all. Like, he just isn't playing well at the moment for us, and I think we'd all agree that Delo deserves to start over him at the weekend. Obviously, Telo's on that left-hand side as well. But you are right, maybe the fullbacks is what he's aiming for. And we know that with Teles and with Delo, we have got those fullbacks who want to bomb forward. But before we let you go, Mo, I'm going to say firstly, obviously, thank you so much for joining us. And also, I'm going to put you on the spot here, but what is your prediction for the game against Norwich on the weekend? Fancy us scoring some goals?
Yeah, definitely. Probably go for a 2-0, hopefully.
2-0? To United, I hope you're saying, yeah? 2-0?
2-0, 3-0. Optimistic, I guess, but, it's always good to be positive.
Go for it, Mo, and thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate your support. I hope you've enjoyed coming on, and we'll do this more often as well. But yeah, Mo, let people know where they can give you a follow on Twitter and whatnot if you want to shout out, get any followers.
Yeah, follow me on Instagram. That's Mike, so Mike, Mike, and then _Hafs, HAFZ. So follow me on there. And thank you so much for having me.
Absolute pleasure, Mo. Have a lovely rest of your evening, and you take care. So there's Mo, our first speaker on Ladies in Red. And you know what, I have to agree with his points. Obviously, Ravel formation is going to be interesting to see what's going to happen moving forward regarding that. I guess time will tell. Time will tell, won't it? But yeah, we'll move on to the next one. I'm going to jump into Nippon, a different fan, obviously, joining us. Nippon, firstly, good evening. How are you doing?
Not bad. How are you?
Not bad. Obviously, Chelsea, we're going to delve straight into that. How are you feeling today after that?
My usual settings, by the way.
It's cool. Don't worry. We'll roll with it. Freestyling.
Yeah. I'm calling in from the presidential suite at the Park Plaza Hotel in New Delhi.
Wow, nice. Bit different from where I am right now in Wolverhampton, I have to be honest. But you know what? Nippon, how you been after you've slept on it? Obviously, what happened yesterday with Chelsea? Obviously, you're through anyway, but you've gone through a second place.
Look, we're through to the knockout stages. I'm not as pissed off as a lot of other Chelsea fans are. Half our team were lattered with injuries. No, look, let's not beat around the bush here. Our first team, we don't concede if we had our first full strength team on the field.
Obviously, no Rudiger there. You think is a massive miss for you as well. Werner getting on the score sheet. Obviously, Lukaku getting on the score sheet. It has to be the positives for you.
Yeah, those are pretty much the only positives.
How are you feeling about the league? How are you feeling about the league for you, like Chelsea this season? Because a lot of people would have you up there with the likes of City and lots of Liverpool.
Like, the thing is, the season's a marathon, not a sprint. I don't want people going all up in arms like, oh, it's all calm. I've said this on so many podcasts and so many call-in shows that this is going to... I don't think City or Liverpool are running away with it this season. I think it's going to go down to the last day.
Mm-hmm.
You know how you guys won't like to hear this. How Aguero won it in the last kick of the league. I have a funny feeling.
Did you have to bring that up? Nippon? Really?
That's the only example I could think of. And no, I wasn't trying to wind you up. Okay.
Okay. It's okay. But yeah, you think it's going to be a thriller like that? Yeah.
It's going to go down to like game week 30. It's going to be decided in the last few weeks of the season. Put it that way. I don't see any team running away with it this season. Honestly.
Yeah.
We only did it last season because Liverpool were littered with injuries. I don't think
Yeah.
anyone's running away with it this season.
I think it'd be interesting. Mate, what's your thoughts on the title race this season? Like, who do you think's going to win?
I actually think it's going to be Manchester City again. There has been people think it's going to be Liverpool, but I just feel like with Liverpool, even though they've got a brilliant starting 11, the squad depth is really what's going to let them down. And especially when it comes to January, they're losing out on 3 of their main players, the 3 of the starting 11 players during the African Cup. So I think that's going to affect them massively if they pick up a few injuries throughout the season, because there is going to be the odd injury somewhere, and that could potentially affect Liverpool depending on who the person's going to be in terms of the injury. With Chelsea, I feel like with Chelsea, they have dropped some points where they shouldn't have dropped the points, like Burnley, for instance. Really, they shouldn't have dropped them points against Burnley. I know they obviously dropped points against us, and a lot of people were thinking Chelsea was going to absolutely batter us, but it was a 1-1. And they obviously lost against Manchester City. But for me, I feel like Manchester City, they're going to go on a run all over again. And that's what Manchester City do. Especially around this time, they'll go on a long 20-game unbeaten run, and then they'll literally near enough win the league. And I think that's going to happen yet again, because City's just got an amazing squad, and people say stuff, well, they haven't got a striker. They won the league last season without a striker, and Phil Foden as a false 9 is absolutely amazing, and he's got a lot more stronger, I'd say, in terms of his shooting ability, his crossing ability. He's improved overall as a player, and he's an actual starting 11 player now for Manchester City. And I think he's capable of being that false 9. So I think it's going to be Manchester City, and I think it's going to be Manchester City, like, by a long shot.
Like, say if they do win, you're obviously willing to down that hill, but like, say if they do win, don't you think eventually, like at some point, Pep will get found out? At some point.
Yeah. Pep always gets found out. I think in some games he definitely does overthink. Like, we seen it last season with Chelsea. He overthinked against Chelsea, he overthinks against Manchester United. He does overthink against certain teams, and there is always going to be that point where Pep Guardiola is going to overthink, especially in the Champions League, because that is something what is a lot of pressure for Pep Guardiola, the Champions League trophy. And the Champions League, more than ever, it's a very, very tight competition with so many teams who are very capable of winning that. You've got Bayern Munich, you've got PSG, Ajax, who I think has been the best I've seen in such a long time. It's going to be absolutely difficult, and I think Pep along the way is going to overthink, if he's going to overthink in the Premier League 1 or 2 games, or overthink in the Champions League.
Yeah, and I think you'd always say that Champions League for him at the minute has to be his priority. Obviously, Premier League is up there, but they want a Champions League, don't they?
We'll prioritise the Champions League this season.
Yeah, I believe that too, Nippon. I do. Who've Chelsea got this weekend?
We play. God, I've got my mind all on travelling right now. We play United, and in fact, I go live with Victoria at 2:30 IST.
Okay, cool. So, what's your score prediction going into that one, Nippon?
I want to say 2-1 Chelsea, but given the fact that we're littered with injuries and Leeds have a really good fighting spirit. Look, the thing with Leeds is they either get battered or they batter teams. It's never...
There's always goals.
It's always goals. It's never a 0-0. It's 1-1. I can't see anything other than a draw. I can't see anything other than a draw, given with our injuries.
I think that's a fair shout, to be fair, and I think that obviously Chelsea, that disappointment midweek, it can go either way. It can have a bounce back from it, or it can lead on to obviously a bad one, and you're hoping obviously it's the first one, but we'll wait and see. But Nippon, I want to say firstly, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate that so much, and also shout out your channel. You mentioned you're going live. Let people know where they can come and find you as well.
Well, I have 2 channels. I use the one over there more, Nippon Sharma. The other one is the British Lifestyle Blogger, in which I'll be uploading, when I get back to England, that is, a lot of videos that need to be uploaded. My priority is the sports one, though. So yeah, Nippon Sharma. You can find me on Instagram with Nippon with 4 I's and 3 U's, and on Nippon Reviews Cuisines. I'm a chef, and I also do a lot of restaurant reviews as well. And my Twitter is beep beep the Roadrunner. My Twitter is the Nippon Sharma. And I just want to ask you a question. Well, 2 before you go. What's the best way to contact you? Through Twitter or through email?
I'd probably say email, to be fair, because it's linked to my YouTube account.
Yeah,
so
because the next time we play each other, I really want to bring you onto my channel.
Yeah, just drop me an email, Nippon, and I'll reply to you there.
Will you be doing these call-in shows again?
I think so, yeah. It's going well so far, I believe so, yes. So hopefully we'll get you on again, if you're up for it.
Yeah. I'm always up for it, unless I'm at work.
Brilliant. Well, hopefully we'll speak to you again soon. Hopefully you get the result you want at the weekend. Take care, Nippon. See you soon.
Bye, Nippon.
Bye. So there we had Nippon on. Chelsea fan, obviously. Chelsea, to be fair, in the Champions League, obviously, Zenit, they got a turnaround. Chelsea tweeted saying, the turnaround is complete. And Zenit scored right at the end. Like, it was a bit of a kick in the teeth for them, wasn't it? But like Nippon said, at least they are through. I think that is the main thing, isn't it? They are through. Up next, we've got Brush. Brush is joining us. Thank you for waiting, Brush. We appreciate that. Firstly, how are you doing?
Not too bad, mate. How are you?
Not too bad. Obviously, Ralph's in charge now. It's looking up at the minute. It's looking up, isn't it? How are you feeling about the whole Ralph situation?
I'm quite excited. Quietly excited. Not getting too giddy with it, but it's a step in the right direction. I'm really liking the things he's saying in interviews.
Yes, I mean the way he speaks is so calming, isn't he?
Yeah.
He seems to have that, that authority about him where you just listen.
And just the way he breaks things down as well, like his understanding of the game, you can tell it's there.
Yeah, he's not talking about, like I saw a tweet earlier saying he's not talking about no process or anything. You know exactly what he's talking about. And he talked about the fact that we started well, but drifted. Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys listened to him speak about Mason as well. Yes. About the things that he needed to address. And I thought that was really good in terms of the mentality and the physique and stuff. And, because under Ollie, we didn't really get this kind of breakdown.
Yeah, and Mason's goal yesterday. I mean, I've not even spoken about that yet.
It was a fantastic finish, wasn't it? It was probably the highlight of the game yesterday, to be fair.
Definitely, other than obviously the debutees coming on, I would agree with you. I think that goal. A lot of people comparing him, Mace, to Van Persie. Would you agree with those comparisons?
It's hard to compare, isn't it? Really, when you do look at Van Persie, it was, I'd say, the key to win that last Premier League under Sir Alex Ferguson. So it's extremely hard, but I think in so many years to come, Mason Greenwood does have the potential to be one of the best strikers in the world. It's just a matter of that he needs to learn from Ralf. He needs to learn from Ronaldo, Cavani, whilst they're both still there. And we all knew last season he was having them private training sessions with Cavani, and you could tell in the games he was Cavani with his head and stuff. I absolutely love that. So if he does carry on how he is, keeps working hard, and once he does get to that point where he can play in that striker role, which we know we can play in, there's nothing stopping Mason Greenwood, to be honest.
Yeah, you're right. And go on.
Sorry.
Go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say on that as well, his finishing is very much like Van Persie, but with Van Persie as well, he only moved to the centre well into his 20s. He was a wide man before that, until he sharpened up his craft. So we can see a similar thing in Mason, hopefully.
I actually agree with what Shane said. He's asking me and you, Brush, but he said would we play Mason over Rashford on current form? I think you'd have to say that Greenwood deserves to start after that goal the other day, and I thought he looked really sharp. I thought he looked levels above everyone else on that pitch, if I'm totally honest with you. I thought he just seemed head and shoulders. Just the way that he just drifts, and he rarely gives the ball away as well, and I love that about him.
Rashi could probably do with a rest, to be fair. I've not been too impressed with what I've seen lately. And
obviously Sancho is on form as well, so you'd think Sancho and Greenwood would be the ones who would get the nod in over Rashford. Maze, would you agree with that?
I completely agree. I actually think that, I know people were saying last season Rashford was carrying an injury, but I just feels like he wasn't up to scratch what we have seen of Rashford, and he had his operation, and we thought, okay, he might come back. He's had them training sessions. He'll come back as a brand new Rashford, but right now he's better as an impactful sub rather than he is as a starting 11 player. Because when you look him when he came on for Leicester, when you look when he came on for Villarreal, he was electric. But when he's coming on as a starting 11 player, is a ghost. He's very quiet. You don't see him. I've even said, if we were to put Mason Greenwood in, he can play on the right. Why can't he play on the left? He's good with both his feet. So I'm sure he's capable of playing on the left as he has played on the right. And I would personally drop Rashford and I play him as an impactful sub until he starts building back his momentum all over again.
I agree with you. I think that Rashford, maybe like Bruce said, could do with a bit of a rest. He obviously isn't quite up to scratch for whatever reason at the minute. Drop him out a little bit and then bring him back in. Obviously, I think it should all be based on form. Hence why we're saying Delo should start over Wan-Bissaka at the minute at right back. I mean, Bruce, where are you at with Wan-Bissaka? He's just frustrating, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, because obviously we know there's a player there, but, you know, it is getting really frustrating now. And Darlow has never had a string of games for us. And this is the perfect opportunity for him and for Telles, actually, to just grab it with both hands. So I'm quite happy for them. And then the team sheet yesterday lets me know that Darlow and Telles should be in for the weekend.
Yeah, they're obviously seeing his first choice at the moment.
Yeah. So it's really up to them now what they do with it. So this is a fantastic opportunity, especially for Darlow, because I think a lot of us probably thought even if Wan-Bissaka needed competition, it probably wouldn't be Darlow.
Well, there's talks of Trippier coming in, wasn't there, last transfer window? I think a lot of people were very tempted. I said I would have taken Trippier.
Yeah, to be fair, even with me, I thought, you know what, wait till Jan and maybe look at Ethan Laird's loan, thinking about bringing him back early just to give him a bit of competition. But listen, if Darlow can do the business, then why not?
Why not? Exactly. How are you feeling going into that game against Norwich at the weekend then, Bruce? You feeling confident?
Quietly confident. Obviously, they'll be on a bit of an upbeat momentum now, isn't it? Because with Smith in charge, it's very tight at the bottom as well, so they'll be well up for it.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. And obviously, when United are in town, you know, it's like a cup final for any team, isn't it? But they're obviously scrapping for their lives at the minute, Norwich. But they're going to fancy us, I'd imagine, with a new manager coming in. They're going to think, you know what, we're not completely settled in our system and whatnot. They're going to try and exploit that. What's your score prediction?
Do you know, I'm going to go for a 2-0. I'm going to trust our boys to keep a clean sheet. Probably more so in hope than anything else, but yeah.
I hope you're right, Bruce. Do you want to shout out where people can find you on social media? Give you a follow, and thank you for joining us as well. I appreciate
you're
that.
more than welcome. I'm just about. You will see me pop up on channels from time to time or in comments.
That's fine. I always appreciate you jumping in. Always see you in the chat. So thank you so much, Bruce, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your evening.
See you later, guys.
Look after yourself. Take care. Thank you. Take care. Bruce made some really good points there. I think the fullback situation is an important one. I think the fact that Delo and Telles were kept out, it does seem pretty obvious and evident that they're going to be starting, obviously, at the weekend, which I'm all for. I think for me, it should always be based on form, not on status. That's why I believe Harry Maguire should have been dropped, because he simply wasn't playing well. And we'll see what happens on that one. Next up, we've got Niall joining us. Niall, thank you so much for waiting. I hope you are doing well.
Yeah, I'm good. How about yours?
I'm good, thank you, Niall. Not too bad. Did you watch the game last night?
Saw the highlights on YouTube, yeah.
What were your thoughts then? Are you impressed? Or I mean, it's a bit of a game, wasn't it?
I was impressed with a young guy, what's he, Charlie Sarby, that's it.
Yes, and obviously, yes, and obviously his dad was commentating. I was about to say, what are your thoughts on that? Like, very emotional for Robbie, bless him, commentating on his son coming on for United. That must have been special for him.
Yeah, we got a big moment by his dad being a commentator.
Yes, and obviously for us, I think as a club, like, we always talk about the youth and how, like, it's special to us and how we appreciate that, the history and whatnot. So to see that happen live on TV, I think it's just one of them that you'll treasure that moment, especially obviously if you're a Savage, but you will treasure that moment forever. And I think it was just really nice to see. But yeah, what's your thoughts on Ralf so far then, Niall?
Yeah, I think he's doing a good job. Yeah, that way we do quite. Yeah.
What was your thoughts on Ollie? Like, do you think it was the right time for him to go?
From terms of results, yeah, I think it was the right time for him to go. Yeah, because I think results just weren't good enough, in my opinion.
I think results. It's a results-based business at the end of the day. We all love Ollie, and like me and Mays have said, like he's still a legend in our eyes. Even though as a manager it didn't work out, he's still a club legend, and I think we still hold him in that regard, don't we, Mays?
Yeah, 100%. He'll always be a club legend. Everything he has done for the club as a player, you can never disregard that. And even what he done as a manager, you still can't even disregard that, because what we was when Jose Mourinho got sacked to the point where Ollie got sacked. I know we had some few bad results what are quite unforgivable in some Man United fans' eyes, but I know definitely a much better situation we are today than we was a couple of years ago when Ollie first took over as an interim manager. So I'm very, very happy of where the club is right now, and I'm more than confident with Ralf that he can take that next step forward. He's got a clean slate with the FA Cup. We all know he's there from the very beginning of the FA Cup, so we'll be able to see on how we will go in that FA Cup, how we're going to be with knockout football now, because we haven't been in knockout football for a couple of years now in Champions League, so that's going to be equally as exciting now too.
Yeah, who do you want in the next round, Niall? What's your thoughts? Obviously, PSG are there apparently.
I know Sai said he want PSG, but I wouldn't mind like PSG or a team like that.
Yeah, I think, you know what, we'll take anyone on. You know what my opinion always is?
Take
you have to beat the best to win it. Yeah, you have to beat the best to win it, don't you? So yeah, we'll see who we get, and we'll roll with it. And with Ralf in charge, I'm feeling more confident, to be fair. Foxes has asked a good question. He said, was very interesting to see how hands-on Ralf has been since he's come in. What's impressed you the most since his arrival? That's a really good question. I think for me, it's the way that he's rotated. Firstly, he's had a look at everybody, but also the way that he talks in his press conferences. I already said it, like, it's just so calming. And I just really think that that's what we needed at this moment in time when obviously everything seemed up in the air. I think him coming in has just assured the fan base and assured obviously all the squad as well. Just at the right time, Niall.
Sorry, say that again.
Do you think that Ralph's calmness in his interviews, do you think that's come at just the right time for us?
Alright. Yeah, it comes across really well when you go up here, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, I don't know, his experience, what he's done, and we know that he's going up to that consultancy role as well. Mays, I'm going to ask you the question now, because I know a lot of people are thinking it. If Ralf does well for these 6 months, can you see him staying on longer? Do you think this plan might change?
I actually think if we get as high as we can in the Premier League, I think in terms of us winning the Premier League, I think it's going to be a no now, and it's about how far we can get in the Premier League. And if we win a cup, if we win the FA Cup, or if we win the Champions League, I know people are saying Maisie are being a bit too ambitious here about the Champions League, but yeah, never say never.
Go for it, mate.
If, for example, we win something like that, I actually think Ralf will take another year on. I think he'll say, yeah, we'll do another year, and then I'll go to my consultant role, because if he's done such an amazing job, you're not going to want to leave. You're going to want to try and expand on that. So I think he might take on that other year, and I'd be happy for him to take on that other year as well, to be fairly honest. Because if you look at who's about right now, the only option I really have would be Ten Hag, but then we'd have to buy Ten Hag out of a contract at the end of the season, and people are saying Van der Sar will come, but then it's like we'd have to buy Van der Sar out of a contract as well. So it's just, we haven't got no available managers right now apart from Zidane, and Zidane isn't wanting to come Man United.
Yeah, that's that PSG job, doesn't he? But Niall, firstly, thank you so much for coming on, and secondly, what's your prediction for the game the weekend, Norwich? What's your score prediction?
3-0 Man United.
I like it. You know what? Everyone's predicted a clean sheet so far. I'll take that. You've gone the most extravagant in terms of goals. We've had 2-2-0s. We've got a 3-0 from you now. I'll definitely take that. But thank you for coming on. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know it's your first time on camera. Hopefully it's been okay for you.
Yeah, I saw a comment from, I think it was saying it like, because I'm a bit nervous, saying I look tired, because I've never been on camera on a YouTube channel before.
You did fine. You did absolutely fine. No worries at all. Hopefully you'll come back again and speak to us. But thank you so much.
Yeah,
and
I'll come back.
Have a lovely evening.
Yeah,
love that, Niall. Thank you. You take care. Thank you.
Bye.
What a lovely guy. Bless him. He was a bit nervous beforehand, but he did absolutely fine. I know we've got 2 other people waiting, and we'll get you on as soon as possible. But yeah, you know the Ralf situation, I think it's a funny one, because obviously with Ollie, he did well in his interim and we kept him on. Do we learn from our mistakes? And I think it's a big one. Do we learn from our mistakes? And do we actually get a manager in the summer? I know a lot of people saying Ten Hag. I would love Ten Hag in. You mentioned Ajax earlier, like, what a team. Or do we risk it? Do you know what I mean? And I think it's a really, really interesting one. I'm just going to wait for Shivan to sort the camera out, and in the meantime, we've got George in the background. George, thank you so much for tuning us. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, Soph. Thanks for having me. And hi, Maisie, as well.
Absolute pleasure.
Hi.
A long time no speak, obviously in person. I hope you're doing well. Hey, what do you think about the game yesterday? Like, how were you feeling about that, the rotation and what happened?
Yeah, so I think it was, as you sort of alluded to already, it was that dead rubber game, so nothing really on it. What I would say though is I think it was quite disappointing. There were quite a few players for me that didn't necessarily, make the step up. Quite a few senior players who I thought had very poor games. So Jesse Lingard, Juan Mata, Wan-Bissaka, who you've already sort of mentioned as well.
Yeah.
I thought, there was quite a few, and obviously Donny as well. And I know one of the callers has already sort of mentioned it as well. I feel like he didn't necessarily have too positive a game either. Obviously, was at fault for the goal, and I, like most Manchester United fans, want to see him being given a chance, primarily because I'm not the biggest fan of Fred or McTominay for many years. So I'd be quite happy if Donny did get some minutes. But like I said, I don't necessarily think he covered himself with glory. There were some nice passes and nice touches, but for me, there wasn't necessarily a real standout player. There was quite a lot. I think even the players who played quite well, like for me, Bailly and Matic, I thought played well. Even they had moments of very poor lack of concentration where they almost
passing from the back. Matic,
it was very, very poor. And then obviously I think Maisie mentioned as well, for me, who the real man of the match was Mengi. I thought he was absolutely superb. He was the one sort of youngster that really did show some competence and also confidence as well. He seemed like he's really able to sort of take the step up as well. So and obviously the only other positive I should say was Greenwood's goal, which I thought it was an okay cross from Shaw, but actually Greenwood, because it was behind him, Greenwood made it look as though it was a magical cross with some amazing acrobatics. So overall I felt like, and I think Ralf mentioned it as well in his sort of post match. He mentioned that he told the players to play in a certain way, but then it was almost as though they just disregarded what he said, and they played in I felt like quite a lackluster manner. And certainly in the second half, we were quite lucky that we were playing young boys who were very, very toothless. They had quite a lot of opportunities, but they just couldn't hit. They just couldn't score.
Finishing was poor, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're spot on. I think against a better team, you'd be punished. But like we say, it's a dead rubber game. We're playing a very heavily rotated team, players who hadn't really played together much. So it was expected to be a very disjointed performance. And I think that obviously the main aim of it really was to give those young players some minutes, to get players like Savage, Iqbal on the pitch as well and give them their debuts. You mentioned Donny there. Do you think that having Mata in there as well? Like, Donny was having to do a lot of the dirty work. Like, obviously, Mata isn't the type really to be throwing himself into tackles in the centre of the park and whatnot. I feel like Donny was kind of being pulled from post to post, and it was hard work for him in there as well. And obviously, his mistake for the goal, of course, and I'm sure he'll hold his hands up. He did, didn't he? And he knows that he made a mistake. But I think that aside, I genuinely think he had a decent performance. I think that if he was in there with a proper midfielder, if you like, I think we'd have seen more from him.
I do think, like I said, there were some good touches and good passes, but I feel like it's quite tempting for all of us, really, because we all want Donny to do so well. It's quite tempting for all of us to sort of like see him playing, even the most average sort of pass. We're all sort of, because I'm quite guilty of it as well with certain players. You sort of think, oh, he's done a pass that lots of people would have done. But what I would say is, you are right. I was, Juan Mata, a magical player in his time, a phenomenal career, really, and a player we've definitely misused, and really in many ways I feel quite sorry for, because his sort of prime from sort of his mid-20s to now we've sort of wasted, really. He's unfortunately he's had his career with us during our really barren spell, but the other player I thought who was more culpable, I should say, for his relatively, what I would say, relatively poor performance for Donny was actually Jesse Lingard, because every time that Donny played it forward, it felt to me like Jesse Lingard was in the wrong place, or he was very slow onto the ball, and there was a couple of times at least where Greenwood actually had to anticipate that Lingard was going to mess up, and then Greenwood came running back and managed to get the ball back. So I thought for me, I know obviously you said that you thought Wan-Bissaka was the worst player. There were quite a few candidates for it, but for me, I thought Jesse Lingard was the worst. I thought he was really, his positional sense was poor. It feels like potentially, and again, I don't know the intrinsics of his contract situation, but it feels to me like he's potentially, he's already he's already thinking about going elsewhere, which is a shame really, because he has proven even this year, that he does have an ability off the bench as well to be quite an impact. Obviously, there was the assist against Villarreal for Ronaldo for Ronaldo's winner, and there was also obviously that amazing goal against West Ham, his loan club. So it's just a shame, but I do, I should sort of conclude by just saying that I do want Donny to do well. And you are right, he wasn't helped by the fact that he had a very slow Juan Mata and a very poor, out of form Jesse Lingard near him. But at the same time, there were moments even with him, and as I said, all of the players apart from Mengi really had all these moments of just terrible lack of professionalism in many ways. I just couldn't believe some of the mistakes they were making. Even Nemanja Matic. Yeah, even Nemanja Matic decided to do some sort of like flick over his head for no reason, and they almost got in
that
as
last
well.
man. Yeah, he was last man. He tried to do a little flick over the head, miskicked it. Yeah, I remember that very clearly. It was one of them. I think it was just one of them games where the players just realistically was waiting for the final whistle. They were just ticking time away really until the whistle blew. But Eric Boye, mate, I'm going to start with you on that one. Spinning the rain for fun, breakdancing. God knows what he was doing. But that is why we love him, isn't it?
Yeah, Eric Bailly, I really do love Eric Bailly as a player. You do look at him and you think, the only reason why I feel like he doesn't play is just because he's so injury prone. And I think if he wasn't so injury prone, he was like Harry Maguire in terms of fitness, like his fitness levels are so high, he'd be on that starting 11 every single game, because he's absolutely incredible. He's very quick. He makes real good tackles, but he can be very rash at times. But everybody does love Eric Bailly, and it was good to see them couple of minutes off him as well. And I think there was them couple of times where he did clear the ball really well, but there was obviously them odd times, just like George mentioned, there odd times with Eric Bailly where he was a little bit careless in terms of his passing as well for me. But I would really love to see if when a Varane is injured and Eric Bailly and a Varane partnership, because I know I was one who wanted a Lindelof, but I'd really love to see Eric Bailly and Varane. I think that would be such a good partnership, but the only thing what would let me down would be the headers. Who'd be the better one with the headers? That would be the only letdown for me in terms of having them both as a centre-back partnership.
But you'd have a very quick centre-back partnership, to be fair. I think if you had them two in there, then you'd have a very quick one. But also an injury-prone one, which is worrying, isn't it? Because you want that consistency. But yeah, he was spinning around breakdancing. I thought he was at the party in Downing Street for a second last Christmas when he was dancing. But yeah, Eric Boye, George, what's your thoughts on his performance yesterday? He made some crucial interceptions, to be fair, but it's just so unorthodox when he's doing them.
Yeah, so I'm a massive Eric Bailly fan. I have been for years. Obviously, Maisie has mentioned his injury record, which is not the best, and it's been a consistent theme really throughout his career. Again, he's potentially a player that we maybe shouldn't have bought, just based on the fact that I think it was Villarreal, I believe, that we bought him from. But whichever team it was, he had quite a poor injury record there as well, just before he signed for us. So we hadn't really necessarily done our research. It wasn't quite the Liverpool Moneyball situation of where they literally logistically work out exactly what the fitness of players and all these other sort of really specialist things, which obviously again Ralf is hoping to start again with all these different people he's bringing in. But like I said, massive fan of Eric Bailly. I think when he has played, he's actually been very, very good. We recall even like last season when Lindelof got injured sort of just before Christmas, Bailly and Maguire formed a very solid partnership. There were lots of clean sheets in there. Bailly had some exemplary games. I remember a block against, I think it was Aston Villa in the last minute, which won as a 2-1 at Old Trafford. But then unfortunately, I don't necessarily want to mention Ollie at this point, but what happened was I've always sort of called Lindelof Ollie's stepson, because Ollie always he had his favourites, and Lindelof was definitely one of them. We got into top spot in mid-January, and then we had that game against Liverpool at Anfield. Where we could have, it was a real opportunity to try and win that and put a bit of distance at the top of the table. And obviously Bailly was still fit at that juncture, and Lindelof had just come back, and instantly, as soon as Lindelof was fit, Lindelof goes back in the team. So it was just, it's like I said, Lindelof has had a lot of, and he probably will do again under Ralf initially, but Lindelof had a lot of game time under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, which I didn't necessarily think he deserved. Because the one thing about Lindelof is there were lots of goals which we conceded last season, especially where he was directly at fault, because he's quite weak. He often gets bullied. There was
I always say with Lindelof in Europe, in the Champions League, against less physical players, he stands out when the ball's on the floor. Very good at the ball at his feet, to be fair. Good ball playing centre back, fairly quick, reads the game well. But when he comes across, and I always think about the game against West Bromwich Albion, when he got absolutely bullied. And
that was the one I was about to say.
Against the physical striker, I think it happens in the Premier League. Obviously, strikers want to try and if they can't offer anything else in terms of quality, they will always press and they'll be a nightmare. They'll be a nuisance and cause issues. And I think that's where Lindelof struggles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, but I do think that he's improved so much this season. I think he's improved so much in terms of, I don't think he's as weak on the ball anymore. I think he's better in his one-on-ones with strikers and the rival teams. I think as well, he's much better in the air at the moment than Harry Maguire. And I think he should 100% be picked over Harry Maguire at this moment in time because I think he's just improved so much.
I agree with that.
Last season, we do think that he was very weak, but this season, I actually can't name many faults of Lindelof right now.
Fair play, credit to him. George, thank you so much for jumping on. What is your score prediction for the game against Norwich as well? Let us know. Let's see how confident you are.
To be honest, Norwich have done a lot better recently. With Dean Smith, I think he's really tried to turn it around, and Norwich are almost looking like they might come out of relegation, which seemed a certainty previously under Daniel Farke. I think 3-0. Which is relatively conservative, but I think 3-0.
Yeah, I would take a 3-0 definitely. And thank you so much, George, for coming on. Hopefully get you on again at some point. I'm going to do these more regularly, probably on a Thursday night, to be fair. I hope you've enjoyed coming on. It's been nice to talk to you.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks very much, so thanks, Maisie.
Thank
Bye.
you. Have a nice evening. See ya. Bye. So George made some really good points there. Next up, we have got Shivan, who's been waiting for a long time. I can see Curlis and Santi waiting too. We'll get you on, don't worry. I'm going to fly through these and try and cut it off on the hour mark. But thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it. I'm loving this, hearing other opinions. Shivan is with us. Shivan, how are you doing?
Good. How about you?
I'm good, thank you. Not too bad. What's your thoughts on United then, the Ralf situation? Like, are you in a better place now, do you think?
Yeah, I think we're in a better place at the moment. I just feel like under Ole, we haven't progressed as of late, and besides us going into the Europa League final and getting into second place, but I feel like Ralf, for me, I think will improve the squad tactically, and something that we haven't seen for a while. So I'm pretty excited.
It felt like it went a bit stale, didn't it, under Ole? And I feel like this last few games with Ralf coming in, we always say new manager boost and whatnot, but it feels like we've got that, doesn't it, Maze? Like all of a sudden we do feel like as fans, like a weight is being lifted almost.
Yeah, 100%. I do believe that it does feel like it has been lifted off. I just think there was just so much negativity when it got to the end of Ole, with the results, the injuries. There was quite a few negative things, and obviously there was stuff coming about the coaching staff, and it's completely different now with Ralf. He's in his interviews, he just speaks so much sense. I was literally watching the Crystal Palace interview, like, what? I've just listened to such a knowledgeable interview. I was getting so happy about it. And then, like, how we see him bringing in a sports psychologist. He's brought in a new assistant from the MLS. I just think, wow, he's here for business, and he's here for a long term as well, which is even more exciting. So I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah,
I think with him coming in, just the calmness about the place, the confidence that we seem to have now. We have a system. We know that we keep going with that 4-2-2. Like, we know that we've got a way of playing now, and we are right about obviously finding the best players to fit those positions. But he seems pretty set in his ways, doesn't he, Shivan? Like, so far? Like, someone asked me this, just I'm going to ask you the same question. I'm going to steal it. I apologise, I don't know who it was. But what would you say is the best thing that you've seen so far with Ralf coming in? Like, what's impressed you the most?
I just think formation-wise, because I feel like with Ole, we've been playing like the same formation, 4-2-3-1, and then with Ralf, I think he plays that 4-2-2, and I think he can also play 4-1-3-2 as well. So I think tactically he can change things up, and I think that's why I'm excited about him, because I feel like he can get the best out of players, and I think with Greenwood, with these youngsters as well, we saw yesterday that he wants to develop the youth squad, and that's what we haven't seen that for a while. So I just feel like that's what I'm most excited about. And but I just think tactically, he can improve the squad, make us into better shape as well. Well, in the summer, if a new manager is going to come in, like Ten Hag,
would he be your ideal choice?
Yeah. I think
what isn't it Ajax?
I think as interim, yes, but long term, probably not. Unless we're like getting top 4 winning trophies, then yes, I want him to stay. But like if we haven't got top 4 or if we're not winning trophies, then I feel like Ralf should move upstairs and then we should bring in
you have
like
Ten Hag?
Yeah,
he would be my ideal, to be fair. Ten Hag would be my ideal choice. And I agree, I think Ralf as an interim, then obviously he's very effective in that consultancy. We've lacked someone really with experience up in that role, so I feel like him moving up is the most natural thing to do. But obviously we've got Norwich at the weekend. How are you feeling going into that one? Give us a score prediction, Shivan.
I'm feeling confident. Well, I won't be watching the game because I got referee a game, but I think we should win 2-0. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I'm going to say 2-0.
I'll take that, a clean sheet. Shivan, if you just want to let people know where they can find you on social media, and thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you jumping on. I always see in the chat, so thank you so much for that.
You can follow me on Instagram. It's ShivanJ_007.
Go and give Shivan a follow, definitely. And hopefully we'll get you on again at some point. I hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you so much for jumping on. Have a lovely rest of your evening. You take care. Thank you, Shivan. And then Shivan there, what a guy. Always comes into the chat, always feeds back, and I really do appreciate it. We do see the support, and we appreciate it very much. Next up, we got Curlers, one of our lovely mods. Curlers, how are you doing? You there? Curlers, you there? Yeah, I can hear you. Okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I would just make a quick point with regards the team. I thought last night we seen a lot of youth, but it's not a balanced side. So trying to pick out people like Van der Beek or Wan-Bissaka for not playing well it's slightly disingenuous.
Yeah.
I mean, they did revert back to playing the sloppy passes that we've seen under Ollie last night. That's what gave the goal away.
Yeah, with Donny.
Yeah, and in fairness to him, he made the mistake, but he's not playing with the full team. So it's difficult to judge what you're getting from Van der Beek just now because he never really gets a chance.
He needs to run a games, doesn't he? I think you can't just judge him on minutes here and there. I think he's got to be fair, hasn't he?
You have to see what he's going to do in the side, in the first team, to then decide if he's going to be genuinely good enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think for me, sorry, on you.
I agree. No, Curtis, I totally agree with you. Mate, what's your thoughts on him? Apologies for my cough.
Thoughts on who? Sorry, Donny?
Yeah.
Yes. With Donny, he is a good player, and we can see the kind of good player he was at Ajax. But the thing is, what I feel like is just the problem is that there is just them odd games because he hasn't played for so long, and then he's getting that. He's a little bit rusty, and then I think because a lot of people are on social media calling for Donny to get played, and then when he does come, and then everyone raises such a high expectation, it doesn't always live out to what everybody plans to be. If you do that,
yeah, as I say, it's a complicated one because you're not seeing the best of him yet. You're seeing glimpses of what he can do some of the time, but he's not getting, for me, enough game time to actually see if he's going to be a regular. And then you add to the fact that there's potentially as many as maybe 6 or 7 going to leave in the next couple of windows.
True. I think you want to see Donny playing with like players who he's going to be used to as well.
Well,
do you know what I mean? He's playing in a young team there, like an inexperienced team. That's not really a fair judgment of him, is it?
No, as I say, you can't judge what they did yesterday. You know, Ralf decided to rotate to basically assess what he's working with, and that's fine. But you know, the likes of Matic, Van der Beek, and there was a couple of other senior players didn't look as steady because there was too many kids there that they've just never played with before. So it just
and obviously Shaw as well coming back in, Wan-Bissaka, they've already had games out as well. So for them coming back as well, like they haven't played consistently, have they, recently?
Shaw's been fit all season. I think those cracked ribs are still an issue because you can't go from being as good as what he was to as poor as what he's become overnight. Maguire again is another one. He's just bottomed. You know, his game is just fell to bits. But
you're right. And I think it's that hangover, isn't it, from the Euros as well? I think a lot of people are saying it's not a coincidence that it's been Shaw and Maguire who are suffering.
As I say, they've had a long run in the tournament and then they've come back into a busy season and it's not worked for them.
Yeah, and fingers crossed they can turn it around though. There's still time obviously for them to do that, and I think with a new manager coming in, surely he can try and get the best out of these players as well. You want to impress him.
I just don't want to see Rangnick get too cute with his rotation over the next maybe 3 or 4 games because they are banana skin games and we could easily draw games that we might win.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I agree.
So obviously, Curlers, we've got Norwich at the weekend. I apologise for having a coughing fit of that, by the way. I had to vanish for a few seconds. You lot held it, and I appreciate that. But yeah, it's Norwich at the weekend. How are you feeling going into that one? Like, I've got a lot of 2-0 predictions. What's your prediction for that game?
I think it might be slightly tighter. I think it might be 3-1. I think, given the fact the first team should be back and how we've played in terms of the amount of creation, hopefully that will continue and then they'll be able to put a few away, but we still are a bit patchy in the back. Varane will be maybe Brentford, maybe the game after, before he's back.
Yeah. So you said we're going to concede. You're the first one today actually who said that. We're going to concede a goal.
I just think that it's going to be a tougher game than people realise. We should win it. I don't think we're going to lose. But I just don't want to see Rangnick get too cute with the rotation at this time.
Yeah, and we can't be complacent against Norwich. We were fighting for the life, obviously.
No, as I say, you want to try. Yeah, you just want to try and get the goals and get ahead, and then work on that. You can rotate after that, but you know, I don't want to see too many of the kids at this time. You know, until such times as we're a couple of goals up.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe put 1 or 2 on the bench and bring them on for experience. That'd be cool if we are a few goals ahead. I think that's the best way to do it. I always feel that way as a manager. Don't start off with tweaking it from the off. Start with your strongest, and then you can always switch it up afterwards. And that's what I'll always say.
That's what
but fingers crossed, definitely. Curtis, can I just say a massive thank you on behalf of me and Maisie and everyone else on the channel for being a fantastic mod in the chat. I really do appreciate that. And yeah, thank you for jumping on. I know that you were a bit funny about coming on, and obviously you said you wanted to talk, but I appreciate you coming on and some really good points. So thank you. No, thank you so much. I appreciate your opinions, and hopefully I want to jump on again at some point. But yeah, have a lovely rest of your evening. I'm going to get Santi on the last call now, and then we're going to round off for this evening. But I hope you've enjoyed it, curlers. Thank you so much.
Easy, ladies.
Bye. See ya. Bye. And then we've got Santi coming on. Santi, thank you so much for waiting. You've been very patient. Firstly, how are you doing?
Good, doing well. How about yourselves?
Doing well, thank you. Doing very well. Obviously looking forward to the weekend and Norwich coming up. But firstly, what were your thoughts on last night?
I thought it was a perfect time for, Ralf to kind of get that, rotation in. I thought it was brilliant as a manager on its own, right? Because generally when you're the new boss, you come in, you might be ruffling some feathers, unsettling some people. But that, I think, is it was a good excuse because anybody maybe like Bai that had a good game, now he sort of has that evidence, right? To if he's going to ease them into the game or ease them into that starting 11, Now you can say, well, I saw a good performance here, I saw a good performance here, without really unsettling some of those starting 11 players that we've seen under Ollie so much.
Yeah.
No.
But I think that, in all, like you say, it's a perfect time to rotate. He needed to see the squad. He needed to see them in action. And yeah, like Curly said, it's probably not a fair judgment because some players haven't played together. Some players have been injured and whatnot. Some players have never played before. And I think it's one of them, is it, where he just wanted a general idea. What have these players got about them? And he would have looked at Mason Greenwood, for example, and thought, okay, he's got something about him. That goal that he scored was special. I thought every time he got the ball, he looked purposeful. And like I said earlier, I feel like he looked like one of the standout players on the pitch. Mengi came on, and I think he must have been impressed by his influence as well. There are certain players there where he probably, no doubt, would have expected more. And I'm going to say one in particular, who's been mentioned already a few times, but Jesse Lingard. Do you think it is true that he's out the door, Santi? Do you think he's gone?
With him, I don't know. It almost looked like he wasn't interested. And
we never say that about Jesse, do we?
It's like it's hard to I can't say what he was thinking or what he was on, but it just didn't seem like he was constantly in the game. Like, I had the game on in the background and everything, and like I just never really quite noticed him. I wasn't, I guess, like having a detailed analysis of his performance. But to me, it seemed like the player that was constantly fighting for those loose balls or fighting, to make some of those tackles was Donny. Like he was the one that kind of was like showing that effort.
That tenacity in there.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, his contract's up in the summer anyway, so he might just say, "Hey, I'm out of here." Because I guess he thought maybe he gave that extra year last summer, and probably just decided, "Hey, it's not going to work out." So.
Yeah, I think that post they did recently as well, the West Ham one, obviously he was celebrating in the West Ham shirt. It tagged West Ham in it just after the news of his contract. And I know that he was just sharing his goal, but he knew exactly what he was doing there, if you're asking me. I think the better thing to do was just to be stay quiet. Obviously, you take there that your contract's upset. Then to post a picture of you from, obviously, your time at West Ham, I just think it was a bit saucy, a bit naughty, that. And I wouldn't really expect that typically of Jesse Lingard, a lad who obviously loves United, has come through the academy and whatnot. But yeah, I think Mais, if he wants to break into that England squad and whatnot, realistically, he's competing with the likes of Bruno Fernandes, even Donny van der Beek, you'd say, probably for that midfield spot. He's not going to get consistent game time, is he?
No, he's not going to get consistent game time at all. And I do agree with Santa. He really didn't seem interested whatsoever on the pitch. And you always know, especially in the past with Jesse Lingard, he's always put that little bit of effort in. He's always shown love for the club, like you've seen him when he made Arsenal ground into a dance mat. He won us the FA Cup several years ago. And that is a Jesse Lingard we look at and love. But then when you look at a game like yesterday, you think, if this is how you feel, why didn't you go in the summer when you had the opportunity, when West Ham wanted you, when Borussia Dortmund was even linked to you as well? Why didn't you go at that point rather than running your contract up? I think he's going to be going in January. I don't think Ralf is going to give him another opportunity. If he is, it's going to be when we're probably high up in the game, like if we're 3-4-0 up.
Yeah. I think with Jesse Lingard as well, I read today, Newcastle apparently are interested. I think that would be a good move for him as well, to be honest. Newcastle apparently are interested in Jesse Lingard. But yeah, what you've been most impressed with Ralf coming in, Santi? What stood out for you? Because he has made a really good impression amongst us fans, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm here, so in the area that I'm in, there's a lot of German American folks, and the way that they talk about him probably hype him up a lot more than the English press do. So that, a lot of Bayern fans have a lot of respect for him and everything. So in that sense, I've seen the interviews. I've been impressed with the tactical analysis. I like how he doesn't, he's not afraid to address the problems or what he saw wrong, right? After the game, he was like, look, we were passing into this specific line and we were giving the ball away. It's just kind of not necessarily no excuses. This is just, it is what it is. And that's, I don't know. That's just kind of the vibes that I get from him. And so I like it. I think it's refreshing from what we've seen, from the past few years.
Definitely.
And I think he's a good signing. I guess as far as an interim, I'm curious as to whether, I don't know. I feel like maybe this is just me, but is the English press being a little bit too forward with trying to go with those questions like, are you going to be the manager long term? Are you going to stay? Like, and I thought it was just interesting. Like that was like the first part, like first press conference. That was just like immediately they were trying to like see if they would get him on there.
We've barely seen anything yet. We've barely seen anything, and they're already saying, I agree with you. But we know what the British media is like, and it's just especially when it's United as well. It's just constant, isn't it? But we have got Norwich at the weekend. A very different test from that, obviously, what we faced against Young Boys. Like, how are you feeling going into that one? Obviously, I'm sure it'll be a full change of the lineup and whatnot. I've had a lot of 2-0 predictions. I know we just had a 3-1, so we have said someone say we're going to concede. But what's your thoughts on it? How are you feeling?
You know, I think it's going to be a closer game, maybe than a few goals. It could be one of those. It could either go one way or another. I think we're just going to keep it tight, especially after conceding so many chances. This past game. I know it's going to be a totally different 11, but I'd say it's probably going to be either 1-0 or 2-0.
Yeah, I'll take that. A clean sheet would do very nicely indeed. Yes. But I agree with what I think George said. It's not going to be as easy game, and Curler said it as well. Like Norwich, we should win, but when it's United, teams just step up, don't they? And I think Norwich will definitely step up. Mais, I haven't asked you yet. Obviously, I've asked all of our guests, but I haven't asked you. What's your score prediction for the weekend?
It's going to be a tough one, and when you do look at Norwich, I think they definitely are on a high, knowing Dean Smith has come to the club. They've changed that a little bit as well. The momentum has gone to a different kind of level. They've had 2 wins this season as well, one of them being Newcastle. They haven't done too bad under Dean Smith at this moment in time. They haven't been like hammered against the team at this moment in time. So I think they're going to come in, put their A-level game on, as you probably would expect, but I think it's going to go a 2-0 for Manchester United.
I like it. I like the positivity. I'll give you mine. I actually agree. I think they might concede one. I'm going to say a 3-1. And I'm saying that because I think up until Varane is back, I'm not 100% on our defence. So I'm going to say a 3-1. But going forward, so I expect Ronaldo to score. I'd love to see Greenwood back on that score sheet as well. But yeah, I just feel like going forward, we're going to have just too much quality for them. So I'm going to say a 3-1. I think they'll concede. Santi, where are you joining us from, by the way? Let me just ask that firstly.
Yeah. So I'm over here across the pond in the States, here in Texas. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, cool. Lovely. Cool. Yeah, very nice. I was just obviously said you're out in the States, so I thought I'd ask a bit whereabouts you are. But yeah, thank you so much. And obviously, I really appreciate you tuning in. What time is it now for you?
It's about close to 3 o'clock.
Okay, so not too bad then. Not too bad. For us, it's like obviously getting on now to the evening. Bedtime for me very, very shortly. But yeah, Santi, thank you so much for jumping on, and obviously very patient waiting as well. I appreciate that. If you want to shout out where people can find you on social media as well, obviously feel free to do so.
I mean, I'm on Twitter and Instagram. I forget what my tag is. It's like Conti Saga or something like that. But it's not a big deal. I usually just jump on to chat football. So
I love that, and obviously, hopefully, you will jump on again. I appreciate you jumping on. I've really enjoyed doing this. Thank you. I just want to say a massive thank you to all the guests everyone has joined. Joe, I know you've just jumped in, but we have got to shoot off. Hopefully, next time you can jump on. We'll do this on a Thursday as a regular, because I've really enjoyed doing it, and I hope you guys have as well. Santi, have a lovely rest of your day and the evening there. Everyone in the chat, obviously, absolute pleasure. Everyone in the chat as well, obviously, massive thank you. Michael, thank you so much for that super chat. I really do appreciate that as well. That kind, really, really kind gesture. So thank you so much. And Mais, thank you so much for being my co-host. As always, an absolute pleasure. Let people know where people can find you as well, and obviously your channel.
Yeah, it's been an absolute great show, absolute brilliant call show as well, brilliant guests. I just want to say thank you so much for having me on, and you can find me on my YouTube channel. It's Devils United. I do both men and women's football for Manchester United, and you can also find me on Twitter, which is @2_MUFC Mais.
So go and check out MUFC Mais, and obviously, yes, your YouTube channel as well, doing really, really well. And I love how you're doing a watch along as well for the Academy game the other day, which I thought was fantastic as well. But guys, thank you so much. Obviously, hit the sub button if you haven't already. I'd appreciate that. Hit a like on the video, and if you have missed any of your comments, just drop a comment afterwards. Or Santi, if you do find out what your tag is or whatever, pop it in the comments afterwards, and I'm sure people will check it out. I definitely will. So thank you so much to everybody. Have a good one. Take care.